Hey Ryan, Hardesty here. Just getting ready to pick up my daughter from preschool. It's her second day. She's been really excited about school, so that's awesome. It's my Friday off, so just another awesome example of the things that I get to do because we have this alternative work schedule at TechWorks. So I get every other Friday off, and so that gives me the opportunity to pick my daughter up from school, which she loves. So today I want to talk a little bit about the book Tribe of Mentors, and kind of go through the 11 questions that Tim Ferriss asks in that book. So it's a book that Tim Ferriss put together where he asks a group of people that he looks up to, his mentors, and he asks them these 11 questions, and you get all of their answers to these 11 questions. And so I wanted to look at those same 11 questions, and what I'll probably do is a series where I answer each of the questions. But today I want to talk about the first question, and that's, which 3 books would you recommend? I think the way that he words the question is, what's the book that you gift the most, or 3 books that you would recommend? So I'm going to go with 3 books that I would recommend. And before I talk about the books, I want to talk a little bit about books and reading, and kind of how I think about that and how I think about these kind of questions. Like, hey, what's the book that you recommend? Something I get asked because I do read a lot of books. And so I've benefited greatly from a lot of books. I've had books that have made the information in the book has made me a tremendous amount of money. I have books that have influenced how I treat my children, how I treat my wife, how I treat the people that I work with in my business, how I structure deals that I'm negotiating in my business, how I do basically every facet. There has been a book that has had some kind of influence on it because I open myself up to those opportunities by reading a lot of books. But one of the interesting things with books is that books are one of the only things that you can do that actually gets you in the mind of some of the greatest thinkers that our world has ever had. A book is the ability to look through the lens at your world, but through the lens of that author. A lot of times it's through their stories, it's through their examples, it's through their advice on the things that they chose to write about, but you can apply it, and it's just like a conversation. The way that I read a book is I'm constantly comparing it to some of the things that I'm dealing with. I'm always looking at something that a process that I'm looking at evolving, or a change that I'm looking at making within my personal life, my habits, my management style, processes within the business, all these different things. I'm always kind of looking at things from that angle. And so the timing on the book you read makes way more of a difference than the book that you read. And I'm going to give 3 examples of that, of books that I read that are great books, and I'd recommend any of these 3 books to anybody. But the timing of when I read these books is what made the biggest difference. So the first book that I want to talk about is Switch. It's by Chip and Dan Heath, 2 brothers. They write books. All of the books that I've read of theirs have been great. So this book, Switch, talks about motivation and what motivates people. It talks about the rational side of our mind, the emotional side of our mind, and the environments that we're in. The book's broken up into 3 parts, and it uses the illustration of the elephant and the rider. And the elephant being the emotional side, the rider being the rational side, and then whatever path or environment that the elephant and the rider are in is kind of the environment that you're in. So it uses this illustration, and it talks about how much strength the rider has versus how much strength the elephant has, how the rider is able to influence the elephant, but ultimately if the elephant doesn't want to go somewhere, it's not going to go there. So this book I read probably 2.5, 3 years ago, and we were having a lot of trouble with homework with my son. He was in first or second, I think he was in 2nd grade at the time. He may have been in 1st grade. But we were just having a ton of problems with him wanting to do homework, being able to stay focused. And through reading this book, I was able to adjust how we set up the environment for him to do his homework. We made pretty small changes to how we did it, and we saw tremendous results. One of the biggest things that we were trying to get him to do is we were trying to get him to sit down and do all of his homework at one time. And for him, he did not have the attention span to stay focused and work productively for that long. And so this was a elephant situation. His elephant wanted to do other things. So his emotional side wanted to do other things, even though we were telling his rider, and it's kind of funny because his name is Ryder, but we were telling his rational side, hey, this is something that's good. He agreed, hey, I should do my homework, but he couldn't stay focused. So what we did is we broke homework down into smaller chunks when we gave him rewards at the end of those chunks. So it's a lot of the way that it's laid out in the book, giving, clearly define the path, setting the time frame, clearly defining what you get when, the time frame is up. So with us, it was super simple. Hey, do your homework, 10 minutes, go out and play. We're going to come back in. We'd break up homework into like 3 10-minute sections. And that changed everything versus him sitting down for, 25, 30 minutes. If we just broke it up into 3 10-minute sections, he'd get a break. He could go play for 15 minutes and then we'd come back and do more homework. That made a huge difference. And we started seeing a massive change in us fighting with him about doing homework and the homework actually getting done. So that was Switch by Dan Heath. Another book that made a huge difference was The Obstacle is the Way. The Obstacle is the Way is a book by Ryan Holiday. It's a book that I read when I was going through a very difficult time with a account that I managed. We were going to have to go through a massive restructuring of our pricing, how we handled everything. And what that ultimately was looking like is that we would go from that account actually being profitable and making us, a very good return on the time that we were putting into it, to that account probably losing most of that profit. And the level of service that we were going to be able to offer that client was going to have to decrease and change. And that wouldn't have been good. I was really stressed out about it. I was reading The Obstacle is the Way, and that book helped me to reframe my mindset to realize that the opportunity to restructure how our deal was set up was an opportunity to think outside the box, to look at that problem from a different perspective. Like, what if this was an opportunity to actually be able to increase the level of service that we are giving the client, to be able to meet all of their needs that they were asking us to do, and while still maintaining the profitability of that account. That mindset shift absolutely changed how I structured that deal and meant that this awesome account that we had, we were able to not only maintain it, it was the profitability maintained, and we actually were able to increase the level of service, which the customer was happier with what we offered while we maintained the profit that we had, and we actually increased the level of service that we were able to offer them. So just super awesome. Never would have happened without The Obstacle is the Way. So that book actually probably saved, my business, TechWorks, the company, millions of dollars over the lifetime of that newly restructured deal. So just incredible book. But it was incredible because I had the time to apply that information. And then the last book I want to talk about really quick is Good to Great. Good to Great was a book that I read right when I took over a department within TechWorks. I'd gone from managing 3 to 5 people in the past to managing 30 people. It was a massive shift. I was a multi-million-dollar accounts. It was running $6 to $8 million in work a year, and I had never done anything like that in the past, not at that scale. And so that book actually gave me a lot of the tools as far as the structure and the leadership and the types of things that I needed to implement in that department as I took over to be able to set it up for success. So that was Good to Great by Jim Collins. So those are the 3 books that I would suggest as far as if I was going to make a suggestion. But I think the most important thing is that I opened myself up to the opportunity to have the lens to look through of Ryan Holiday, of Chip and Dan Heath, of Jim Collins, all great business minds, right? So I had the opportunity to look through their lens, to think with their mind in those times when I was in massive time, when I needed to make changes. So read a lot, because when you're in situations where you need information, we need to look at things from a different perspective, books provide, or one of the best ways that I've found that provide that type of thing. So those are the 3 books that I suggest. The last thing that I just want to talk about really quick is, if you're reading a book and it's not good and you're not enjoying it, you're 2-3 chapters in, it's just not drawing you in, put it down, get a new book. Don't waste your time trying to dredge through a book that somebody said was great. So for example, if you start reading Good to Great and you're not into it, just because I said that it's a great book and that you should read it, put it down, get a new book. Start on, if it doesn't speak to you, move on, find something that does. Just remember that books are a great opportunity to look through the lens of somebody else. They will help you problem solve. They will impact your effectiveness as a manager, as a leader, as a person, a father, a mother, a sister, a brother, a son, a daughter, all of those things. Books have the opportunity to change who you are and to influence your path in life. So make sure that you're getting lots of books in your hands. If you don't have time to read books, if you have a long commute, listen to audiobooks. It's another great way to consume that information. It's a little bit different as far as effectiveness, I believe. But again, just read. It's a great thing to do. Again, my 3 books, Switch by Chip and Dan Heath, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, and Good to Great by Jim Collins. If you like this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. If you think that you've got a friend that would benefit from this information, make sure to share it. Otherwise, I will see you next time with the second question from Tribe of Mentors. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.